an act of free will.
And now, where do demons come from?
Well, demons they are ultimately they're fallen angels. The Bible teaches us that there was a rebellion in heaven before creation, and an angel called Lucifer took 1/3 of the angels and tried to overthrow heaven, and he was cast into hell by God. And these demons that are down there are actually these fallen angels.
Okay, just a little quick. I didn't get to this question in the first hour. We were talking about your book, Lucifer's Lodge there, and we have these guys in these funny hats. What's up with those pointy hats?
That is called a mitre.
Yeah?
And those hats, they actually come from the Jewish tradition. Those were rabbinical hats originally.
Okay.
And the earliest Christians, the rabbi would wear a hat similar to that, and then the Catholics just took on that practice themselves. You'll even see the Pope, he wears a little cap that looks like a yarmulke, a Jewish yarmulke.
Yep.
That is a carryover from Judaism. It's called a mitre. That's the name of it.
Okay, so, I mean, they're not sticking nudie magazines in there, are they?
Well, I don't know. There used to be rumors that they used those hats to cover their horns.
Whoa.
That was an old anti-Catholic propaganda thing.
I tell you what.
I don't think so. It's just a carryover from Judaism.
Bill, if you want to see a freaky picture, and somebody sent it to me once, I know it's out on the net, but there's this picture of the Pope with a Santa Claus hat, and man, I tell you what, that dude's a freak. I mean, you look at this guy, I mean, he is scary. I would never want to meet up. Have you seen that picture?
I have seen that photograph, and that is another form of a medieval bishop's hat.
Yeah.
And I just find Benedict a very creepy person anyway. It doesn't matter what he wears, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, man. He kind of. In fact, I think we had an actual somebody morphed. He morphs into the Star Wars demonic figure in one of the Star Wars episodes. Somebody's got a morph between that picture and the Pope. But sounds to me like they're wreaking havoc on the planet. As we come to say this battle that we mentioned earlier between satanic occultist forces and I guess the forces of good. But I was wondering, the ancient texts talk about a 200 million man army. Would you say that 200 million man army are 200 million people that are possessed of the devil, or they have no soul? Are they all Aleister Crowley followers? What do you think?
Well, that's pretty tough to say. You don't necessarily have to be possessed by a demon to be in league with evil. And Lucifer is a very deceptive person, so many of the soldiers in that large army would most likely believe that they're doing the right thing. So as the people who are in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, who are torturing those prisoners they have there, they probably sincerely think they're doing the right thing, but ultimately, you know, what they're doing is evil.
We've had a couple guests suggest on this program that the crashes into the Twin Towers with the 3,000 or so people that lost their lives was really a gigantic human sacrifice. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of that, and I've seen photographs. Some of the smoke coming out of the towers takes on the shape of a demon. Now, I'm really not certain. I think 9/11 was certainly an inside job. Our government at least had pre-knowledge that it was going to happen. Now, I don't know the details of what was the motivation of the hijackers, or if it was remote control. There's a lot of theories out there, but I am convinced that it was an inside job, and in that regard, it was human sacrifice because the government allowed it to happen.
Do you think that George W. Passed the skull over to Dick Cheney, and that's why Dick Cheney called off the planes to stop the plane from hitting the Pentagon? You think he was like in a bunker somewhere drinking blood from a skull and therefore wasn't paying attention?
Well, they haven't given me the details of what they were doing that day, so I'm uncertain.
Okay. All right. Now, we're talking about occultism and demonic activity. What about in early American history, the Salem witch trials? Was there genuine occultic activity, or were they just women out there trying to have some fun on a Halloween night?
Okay, there was definitely occult activity because one of the slaves there, a black woman named Tituba, was teaching the girls different candle rituals.
Really?
Yes, that's an established fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as were those girls possessed or was it just hysteria? Some
Mm-hmm.
people say that they were eating ergot, which was like LSD that was in the bread. I'm not certain, but I can say that it is certain that they were performing voodoo-like rituals with a slave named Tituba in Salem. Yeah.
Wow. And so then would you say that the people that brought the witches to trial were right?
No, because quite frankly, I'm against the death penalty.
Really?
And I don't think torturing and hanging people for their religious beliefs, whatever they are, is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm against that.
Okay. And what about war?
I'm against all forms of violence between human beings, to be honest. It doesn't seem to solve anything. It just promotes more violence.
Okay. So if you were in England in World War II and the V-2 rockets were coming over, would you say, hit me again?
No, I wouldn't, but the problem there is they called World War I the war to end all wars, and what I'm saying is that human violence tends to perpetuate more human violence. Now, if a mugger tried to take my wallet, I'd use reasonable force to repel the attack, but as far as governments attacking each other, it doesn't seem to solve anything, and human beings just keep killing each other. Now, with nuclear weapons, we're in a whole different ballgame because now we have the diabolical ability to destroy the human race on a whole. So we're in a different ballgame now. So I would probably be more against war at this juncture in history than anyone else would be, because it doesn't take much to wipe out human life on this planet when we have this, incredible nuclear and biological weapons. I think if there was ever a time for pacifism, I think this is it, especially between countries.
What about the Nazis? Were they involved in occultism as well?
Oh, deeply involved in the occult. Heinrich Himmler, who ran the SS was the public name for his group. The private name he called his high council Lucifer's courtiers. And they were deeply ingrained in the occult. If you go to my webpage at the Occult Multimedia page, I have about 6 documentaries that you can link to on YouTube and Google that deal specifically with Nazi occultism and Nazi Satanism.
Okay, well, right there is proof that dealing with the dark side doesn't pay off because the Nazis lost the war.
The Nazis lost the war, and it's horrible, but the Trojan horse of fascism was kind of left in the United States. When you see what like George Bush is doing now, it's quite frightening.
Really?
In fact, George Bush's grandfather, Prescott Bush, was in league with the Nazis and was even trading with them economically after the war began. And he got in a lot of trouble for that, but they dropped the charges against him. So there's strong links between the Bush family and fascism.
Well, again, though, the Nazi connection to the occultism didn't win them the war, and so I'm just wondering, all those others, and of course, Aleister Crowley is dead, the occultist, and so many others. So, it doesn't look like on a large scale that dealing or making pacts with the dark side would be prosperous for someone or cause them to win, or is it perhaps that when they get in league with the